podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
No breaks. No breaks. No fear. No fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Welcome along, another busy week in British Speedway. I'm Ian Brannan, and through the course of this episode, we're going to look back at some of the recent action and what's on the way through the course of the next 7 days across British Speedway. And joining me to look at all of that is the Wolverhampton and Edinburgh #1, Sam Masters. And so Sam can tell us firsthand what it was like being part of that match between Wolves and Sheffield on Monday night in the Premiership. The Wolves getting the victory 48-42 on a return to action at Monmore. We'll also hear from the Sheffield team manager, Simon Stead. We'll talk about Ipswich as well. They ended their run of 7 straight defeats, winning 48-42 at the current bottom club, Kings Lynn, and change definitely the watchword at the Adrian Flux Arena. We're also going to hear from Jordan Stewart, who was involved in a crash a few weeks ago at Birmingham, an update on his progress. Later on, we'll also hear from Kelvin Tatum. He's been chatting with Nigel Pearson about all things book-related. Have you heard he's got a book out? But he'll also give us his verdict on where he thinks the Premiership glory will end this season. Plus, we'll hear from the Eastbourne Eagles star Tom Brennan, and we speak to James Wright of the Newcastle Diamonds about their season so far as well. All on the way.
No breaks, no fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Welcome along, another very busy show in store here on No Breaks, No Fear this week. And my guest co-host this week to look back on the recent action and look ahead to what's in store over the next 7 days is the Wolves and Edinburgh #1, Sam Masters. Hiya, Sam.
Hello. How you going?
Yeah, all good, thanks. And thanks for joining us. You must be pretty happy to be back racing again after what 2020 threw at you as a rider, and to be racing with Wolves and Edinburgh, both competitive teams, had a decent start to the season. It must be great to be back on a bike again.
It's been good. I've been enjoying it. I think after having a year away from British Speedway, it's I'm sort of making the most of it, and I definitely missed it. So I'm in 2 good clubs that I really love racing for. I love the tracks, and I'm living with a good family and my girlfriend and my baby Lenny and is living here with me. So yeah, I'm enjoying life and Speedway.
And what was the last year for you like? What were you doing in your year away from Speedway?
Yeah, it was pretty gnarly year really. We come over in March and we're only here for a few days, and we're back over to Australia, and we just sat there till about July, and then we seen that the Polish league and the Swedish league was starting, so we ended up flying back over and living in Poland for 3 months. But our time in Australia for that 4 or 5 months or whatever we were there for was kind of cool. I hadn't been in Australia at that time for like 10 years, so we were just making the most of it. Done Easter in Australia, and we didn't just switched off from Speedway really, but there was none on to even look at or see or listen or hear about. So it was pretty cool, but it made me hungry to be racing again.
I suppose being in Speedway, you very rarely see the winter months in Australia, our summer months, but they're winter months.
Yeah, well, the last time, obviously I go home every winter, every British winter, but hadn't done an Easter or anything like that for 10 years in Australia. So yeah, it was cool to see like an Aussie winter again. But yeah, I spent a lot of time with my mates and my family, which we don't see throughout the year normally, and lived like a normal life really, other than COVID restricting things. But yeah, it was cool just to be home for that time.
Are there things that you miss about the UK when you're back in Australia? Because I think a lot of people from us, you see, Australia is so far away. It's the other side of the world and stuff, and it's a place like probably a once in a lifetime trip for many people to go to Australia. But for yourself, of course, you visit there more often. But you've got your roots in the UK now for work for half of the year at least. And other things that you miss about the UK when you're back in Oz?
When we get home to Australia, we obviously are pretty busy. We get home and we do the Christmas thing, we do the Australian Championship, and then once we start chilling out, that's cool in Australia. But then halfway through February, we normally come in March, halfway through February, we start to miss the UK. I think that's where me and Tegan, our life's been for so long. So it's like it is kind of home for us, and like we obviously go home and live with my parents. So like they obviously want their own space at times, and we want our own space after a bit of time in Australia too. So I actually like England, the country in itself, and we've got a lot of friends here. I just think when we've done that bit of time in Australia, we miss just our full-on lifestyle we have when we are in the UK.
And you're pretty busy because you've got meetings with Wolves in the Premiership, with Edinburgh in the Championship, and then on top of that, you've still got some European action in Poland and Sweden, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm with Rzeszów in Poland. I've done 3 meetings for them.
Yeah,
I missed a couple because they have a couple of German teams in our league, and I can't fly there without the quarantine and thing, and so I've missed them and a clash as well. I missed when I was riding for Edinburgh at Scunthorpe, but we're flat out busy, and I don't think there's any more clashes, but the rest of the year is definitely going to be busy for me.
This week is busy enough for you, let alone the rest of the year. So thanks for taking the time to join us. Let's start by looking at your match that you were involved in last night. At the time of recording, Monday night's action, it was Wolverhampton versus Sheffield, the return of Premiership action to Monmore, and a win for Wolves, 48-42. Sam, you were number one. You were the top scorer for the Wolves with 10+1 on the Monday night fixture. Talk us through your memories of that clash against Sheffield.
We knew it was always going to be tough because we hadn't been there for a few weeks. It must have been 3 or 4 weeks. And the last time we were there, Sheffield were there as well. So, yeah, they've been on the track almost as much as us.
It's Groundhog Day.
So, yeah, it was like there wasn't too much. But anyway, and the track probably wasn't how we normally have it either. So there wasn't much advantage for us, I don't think. So it was going into it was definitely tough, knowing all that. And they were pretty level with us to start with. But then we sort of got a bit of a lead through the meeting. And they pulled it back at the end somehow, but I think Gate 2 was really dominant yesterday, and they had that early on and at the end, like a lot. So when we had it, that's where we sort of pulled away in the meeting, and we got the job done in the end. But it was definitely tougher than we wanted it to be anyway.
It's also a good, strong all-round performance from Wolves. Every rider won at least one heat through the course of that meeting, which shows that obviously you're not reliant on one particular star or a couple of particular riders. You're all contributing.
Yeah, that's good. Everyone rode good. Everyone dug deep, and it was hard. It was a hard racetrack yesterday for us, especially with such a dominant gate. But I think 13 out of the 15 heats were won off Gate 2, so...
Wow.
So anytime one of us are off that, we pretty much won the race. And but anyway, everyone done their job, even Leon Flint being his first time around there, I think, and new in the team, he'd won a heat. And everyone had a good job.
And for Sheffield, their saviour really was Troy Batchelor, wasn't it? And he's had a bit of a mixed start to the season so far, but getting 11 last night, his 3 victories really integral to the Sheffield comeback at the end of that meeting yesterday.
Yeah, he was lucky though. He had them 3 victories were all off Gate 2. He had that three times in his last 4 heats, so he had to win them. But so I think he was pretty lucky there that he had them gates in the end. But he obviously scored the points for him, and he kept him in it. But I think they had a few race winners as well, so it was tough, but we won, so I'm stoked about that.
Is it normal to have such a dominant gate at Monmore like that?
No, never, mate. That's why it was so tricky for us, and then there wasn't really much passing on the track either, so but being away a few weeks, everyone's got to get the hang of it. Not only us, but track staff and everyone else. So next time should be better for us.
Well, we can catch up with the Sheffield team manager right now. Simon Stead is speaking with Ryan Guest.
Well, considering the fact you were 14 points down after 10 races, to be leaving with a consolation league point tonight, got to be delighted, I guess.
Well, I'm not delighted because I think we could have done better and should have done better. But like you said, the fact is that we have got a point out of the meeting when actually at one stage it did look dead and buried. So I'm pleased with the fight that we showed. We were doing all right early doors, containing them. We sort of lost the setup a little bit, and they hit us hard for a while there, and we dropped way back. But we had a chat between ourselves. We spoke. We knew we were. If we got it right, we could be strong at the end of the meeting, and that's as it proved. And I'm pleased with the finish. So I'm pleased with the start. I'm pleased with the finish. Just a bit in the middle let us down tonight.
Yeah, something to work with for sure, though, going forward.
Well, it is, yeah, of course. But like you said, we've got a consolation league point. Let's focus on the positives. And we'll go to Peterborough next week, looking to do a much, much better job than we showed last time we were there.
One positive, the return to form, a Troy Batterell, only one meeting, but nevertheless to win 3 of his final 4 rides and inspire that comeback to get the point.
Yeah, what a difference a bike makes. Change of bike and away he went. So really pleased for him because he's been finding it a little bit tough of late, but that's what he's capable of. He really showed what he could do tonight, and that's a great step in the right direction. We just need more of that from him.
Yeah, and just the fact you're going back to Peterborough so soon after that heavy defeat last week, do you think that kind of helps motivate the boys to obviously do a lot better than they did last time around?
Yes, definitely. Redemption, because we didn't do ourselves any justice there. We let ourselves and our fans down. Can't put our finger on it. Don't know why we didn't perform that particular night. But we didn't. And we all know we need to perform much, much better than that if we're going to get anything out of it next Monday. But we'll be ready for it.
Many thanks for your time, as always, Stead.
Cheers, right. Thanks, mate.
There's Simon Stead speaking with Ryan Guest. Wolves 48, Sheffield 42. And Simon Stead suggesting that Sheffield could have done better and should have done better. Sam Masters, the Wolves #1, is with us. Sam, do you agree that could have been the case?
Well, I reckon they were lucky with the gate draw. I reckon we could have done better, to be honest. So I don't think they would have never beat us, But they had gate 2 and 4 to start with, which makes them finish with that. So I think if we had their gate draw, we would have beat them by more for sure. They don't really have any excuses, I don't think.
OK, going fishing there. Right, let's move on to Chris Van Straaten next, your boss, because Chris Van Straaten has made his feelings well known about the restrictions that his club and really all Speedway clubs have had to face through the course of the last few months or so. But now, of course, we're hearing that restrictions are going to be eased, and even already now things have been reviewed at Wolves, so they had more people in there on the Monday night fixture. Chris Van Straaten's been chatting to Ryan Guest.
Well, Wolverhampton promoter Chris Van Straaten, after a month away, must have been great to get back to Monmore tonight.
Yes, indeed, and it's nice, a few more people here, which is after negotiation with the local authority, and must thank them for their assistance, and it was a little bit of a struggle, which was strange because we're basically an outdoor sport, but we got there in the end with an increased capacity, and we've had the good news while we've been here tonight that Freedom Day is happening on the 19th, so all these restrictions should have gone by the time we race here again.
Yeah, I was going to say, obviously you've been involved in the sport for 3 decades or so now. Just how difficult has the past month in particular been?
It's been very, very difficult, I think, because it's the public have been as understanding as they can, but some of the regulations to them seem a little bit extreme. We've had to divide the stadium into 4 areas, and you couldn't move from one to the other. So a lot of them, it's kind of there's my friend over there, and they want to tend to move to their friend. And all that. It's got this background, hasn't it? Family, friends, Speedway. So it's been very strange for them. But I was to thank them for their cooperation. It's been infuriating. I understand that, but it was out of our control.
Yeah, and like I say. We were in the stadium when the news broke at tea time. Obviously, restrictions hopefully being completely lifted by the looks of it on July the 19th, and that really is going to be massive, isn't it?
Of course, I mean for the whole country, isn't it? It's been a very difficult 18 months for everybody, And I've never tried to belittle the terrible impact that COVID's had on so many people and so many families, but I think it had gone on long enough, you know.
Yeah, and from a speedway perspective in particular, like you say, just to totally get rid of those, get as many fans back in as possible, and the return to normality, like you say, more than anything.
I think so. I think a percentage of our fans don't trust online or have no facilities for online, and a lot of them have been ringing every week, well, can I not just pay? So now they can. It's back to normal on the 19th.
Yeah, and just finally, from a Wolverhampton team perspective, another solid win after a month away to extend that unbeaten run here at Monmore.
Yeah, we ran a slick track because this rain, which is coming down now, you're never sure. When they say 9 o'clock, it could have come at 8 o'clock, so we ran the track a bit slicker than we probably would have done. But we got the meeting on and we got a win, and I think every rider had, at least one good race, and it was very pleasing to see Leon get his victory in front of the home fans as well.
Many thanks for your time, Chris.
Cheers.
There's the Wolves promoter Chris Van Straaten chatting with Ryan Guest, and Sam Masters is with us through the course of this episode, the Wolves number 1, and it must have been a boost for you to see more faces on the terraces at Monmore on Monday night. But just tell us about the importance of the fans being there from the riders' point of view. We know about the financial aspect, but the support, the noise they make, and seeing them there, willing you on and all that stuff, it's got to be hugely important, hasn't it?
Oh, yeah, we definitely need him, That's just, when you see... it's been pretty scary, They're thinking with the low crowds, how long is this going to last for us? And hopefully we can see the season out. And cause I know it's real tough on the clubs. I'm sure CVS has been stressing a lot about that. And when you see the crowds on the terraces, it's a bit of a relief for you to know that, well, at least there is people coming in now and paying to watch us, and that means we can be paid, as well. So. And the club can run. So it's very important for us that there is people in the stands, and CVS has been allowed to have more fans in from last week, and that's a lot of weight off his shoulders too, I think. So can still get better, but at least we're going the right way.
And next up for you then, it's you're on the TV next Monday at the National Speedway Stadium, Bellevue versus Wolverhampton. And Bellevue, of course, have been, the one of the form teams so far this season. They've only just let their unbeaten record go just last week. So that's going to be a tricky test for you up there on a very different track to Monmore.
Yeah, for sure. They're on fire this year, so it's going to be tough for sure there. We need to be on our game. Hopefully, I'm going to try and bring an engine over from Poland and be in a bit of a bigger track. So as I've struggled, at Peterborough and Sheffield this year on the bigger track. So change the engine for that, and hopefully I get enough speed personally. But the rest of the team enjoy going to Bellevue, so there's no reason why we can't win there. I reckon we can. Bewley's fast at the minute, so everywhere in the world. So we need to try and slow him up. And but no, the rest of them are really good too. So we've got a tough task there for sure on Monday, and hopefully put a good show on for the TV as well. But be nice to come away there with a point at least, but be going for the win.
And the two tracks, you're saying that, the two tracks you race for the most, Wolves and Edinburgh, they're very tricky tracks, aren't they? Certainly for away riders who haven't experienced them before. There is a certain skill to those. And what's the difference from your point of view? You mentioned there that you're going to get a different engine in for your bike to cope with Bellevue because it is a wide open spaces. But are there any other differences in how you would ride your bike versus what you would, say, do at Monmore or at Armadale?
Yeah, for sure. It's obviously them two tracks I race on, Wolves and Edinburgh, is very, very technical. Probably the two most technical tracks in the country. So your riding style 100% changes from track to track, and Bellevue is probably the complete opposite to them two. So my bikes are set up pretty good for Edinburgh and Wolves, and so I need to change something for a bigger track like Bellevue. But I race in Poland too on the bigger tracks too, so I'm not. I sort of do know how to ride a big track as well. But my bike's mainly in the UK are set up for these small technical tracks. So I'm going to put an engine in that's more suited to the bigger tracks, and hopefully I can go really fast.
Let's hear from Mark Lemon then, because Bellevue had their unbeaten run ended at Sheffield last week. Next up, a trip to Vauxhall this Thursday, followed by hosting Wolves next Monday.
We've had a pretty good run. Obviously that winning streak's come to an end, and the unbeaten run, I should say. So there's a great vibe in this camp, and like I said, when they all sort of hit their rhythm, look out. But we've got some challenging meetings coming up. Obviously, hopefully we're down at Ipswich next week, and we felt we should have won when we were down there the first time, our first away meeting this season. And I think we go down there with sort of a good heartbeat here, and hopefully we can the boys can produce the goods there.
Bellevue boss Mark Lemon there talking about the end of their unbeaten run and looking to get back to winning ways, and Ipswich stand in their way in the meeting on Thursday. What are your thoughts ahead of that one, Sam?
Yeah, well, I'm actually guesting for Ipswich on Thursday, so
right.
Hopefully I have a good one like I did last week at Ipswich and get in their heads a bit. I heard Lemo say there's a good vibe in their camp, but so have we at Wolves. We all get on really good there. We're all good mates, and I think we've definitely got a team and the team spirit to win. So it's up to us to beat Bellevue Monday.
Well, I was wondering how I was going to get from Wolves to Ipswich seamlessly, and the fact that you're going to be guesting for them next time out is the perfect link. So there we have it.
Yeah.
They won last night, of course, to Ipswich on the road at the Adrian Flux Arena against Kings Lynn. That's an end of the 7 straight defeats, and they've been threatening, haven't they, Ipswich? They made some changes, particularly Craig Cook coming into the lineup, and they've looked a lot more threatening and maybe been unlucky the last couple of defeats that they've had, but to get back to winning ways against Kings Lynn of all sides has to be the perfect way to end that run, really. And for Kings Lynn now, the pressure's really on. They made lots of changes, and things still aren't going their way. Yeah,
it's sad to see Kings Lynn struggling so bad, but good for Ipswich to win again. And they've got a really good team. When you look at them, you think, like, even when we were there last week, and we obviously won there, but when we were talking on Track Walk, we said, this team's tough. They may not have won much, but they're a good team, and if they all are firing at once, I think that team will be really strong. So we might see that in them a little bit later in the season, them all gel together. And Cookie's obviously fast, really good, and I'm sure I know he's good around Ipswich. So they do have a good team. I don't understand why they've been losing. Maybe they're just a bit of bad luck and whatever. But I'll just worry. But really, to me, just worry about Wolves. That's my main priority, and winning. Well, we really want to win the league this year. That's a massive goal for us, and after a tough year, I think it'd be such a nice thing for the fans and the management there at Wolverhampton. And are you guesting for Jordan Stewart or Jason Crump on Thursday? Crumpy, mate. Yeah, I don't really know. I just got asked if I could do it. I'm sure Crumpy's still not 100%. He was had a big injury there, so I know he tried a race, but I don't think he's right at the minute. But I think I'm guessing for Crumpy at Ipswich. So then I got Edinburgh on Friday, Berwick on Saturday. So need to find a good mechanic for the weekend, I think. Busy old week. Well, someone else that we've caught up with this week, one of the Ipswich lineup, is Jordan Stewart, who's been out since that crash a few weeks ago at Birmingham, which has been talked about quite a lot. He was at the Red Car meeting last week, and asked him how he's doing and when he's likely to come back.
Yeah, I'm definitely getting better. Physio's well underway, and it's just my shoulder. It's just I need to build my strength up in my shoulder at the moment, and but yeah, all broken bones are healed, and it's just ligament damage now, which is just, takes a little bit longer than the bones. But I'm hoping 3 more weeks and I'll be back racing.
I think both of your teams have been missing you quite a lot, and you must be really looking forward to being able to get back out there and help them out. Definitely. I hate watching Speedway when I'm not involved. It's especially
Redcar, the club that I'm involved in. But I'll come back stronger, and I'm more hungry than ever, and I just need to get me body working good, and it'll be all good.
Jordan Stewart, 3 weeks away from a return, he reckons. That's got to be a big boost for both Ipswich and Redcar to have him back in their side, because he's going so well up to that point of that crash, and it was quite a nasty crash as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, I feel sorry for him. He had a tough start to the year, and obviously getting injured. It's a long way over from Australia after a long wait, and then he got injured quite early on. So be nice to see him back on the track. Another Aussie mate of mine. So it sounds like he's healing. So we've all sort of been injured before, and sitting around it is tough, especially after taking so long out. He didn't ride much at all last year, and comes back and gets injured early on. That is tough. But he's still keen, which is good. He's still keen to get back on track and win races, and that's the main thing, I think. So he'll be back, and he'll be enjoying his time on the bike soon.
Quick look ahead to the other Premiership matches next Monday. We've sort of touched on Bellevue versus Wolves, but the other one is going to be Peterborough against Sheffield. So what are your thoughts on both of those teams? Because Peterborough, well lauded as being the dad's army, they've got the experienced lineup, but three former Grand Prix riders. The rest of the lineup's pretty solid, and Jordan Palin at reserve as well. And whatever they keep fit and going in the right direction, they're going to be a tough outfit to come up against. And then, of course, Sheffield, who you rode against yesterday as well.
Yeah, that'll be a tough fixture, that, because they're, again, both two big tracks. I think they were against each other last week or something.
Yeah.
It must have been a tight meeting. But so, Peterborough have got the experience. They're very smart on the track this year, all of them, and so they're like you said, they're going to be a tough team to beat if they keep doing what they're doing this year. And maybe the old boys might get tired at the end. Let's hope. That'll be a good fixture. That when you sort of look at it, they're all pretty close, aren't they? Like there's no outstanding team that looks like they're just going to smash everyone. So I think it's going to be pretty tight towards the end of the season where we'll all end up. But both them teams, they're good.
54-36 the last time they met at the East of England Arena, and Simon Stead there was pretty disappointed, I think, with how things panned out. Jack Holder was the top scorer, but with the amount of Peterborough experience that Sheffield have got in their side, you would have thought that it might have been a closer battle than that.
Yeah, I thought it would be closer than that. It's a hard track to go to, Peterborough anyway, as an away rider. It's the last few years I've been there, it's been really different. So the Peterborough boys are obviously dialed into that a bit, and it's going to be tough to go to Peterborough this year, especially with all that experience that they've got. And they're all working well together. But so Sheffield are going to have to step it up if they want to have a better result than that.
And when you say it's different, in what way? The surface, or have they changed the shape?
Yeah, I think the shape's the same. The surface and the starts are a bit different, but I think like Buster must have took that over and changed the dirt on it, which it's made the track really nice and smooth and actually good racing. So whereas before it was a little bit more, the dirt was a bit different, and I've been caught out actually the last couple of times I've been there. So it's a tough place to go, but hopefully it's the same for me next time, and I'll know what to expect.
Finally, before we round off this Premiership section of the podcast, we've just received a statement from Kings Lynn Speedway, which says Kings Lynn have confirmed manager Peter Schroek has stood down from his role by mutual consent. Following the latest home defeat by Ipswich on Monday, club owner Keith Chapman and Schroek agreed it was best to go in a different direction. Chapman said, "I don't like difficult conversations, particularly with people I have a lot of time for, but we felt the time was right to move in a different direction. Some of the riders also need to take a long look at themselves because they haven't delivered for whatever reason. Once again, I must emphasise how much we appreciate the loyal support of the fans and sponsors at such a tough time for the club. Stroke himself added, "My respect for Buster Chapman will always be there. I'm just sad and disappointed it's come to this. As a manager in Speedway, you can only work with the tools you are given, and some of the riders just haven't been good enough. Whoever they turn to for managerial role going forward, I'd like to wish them all the best and hope they can get a tune out of this team. Kings Lynn is a great club. I'll still be coming along with young Sam Hagan, and I'm also good friends with my fellow countryman Eric Riss. The Miners and Brady Stars will have an interim manager in place for their trip to Sheffield next Thursday, July 15th, before returning to the Adrian Flux Arena on Thursday, July 22nd against Bellevue. Of course, we'll have more reaction to that, which is just breaking at the time of recording this. In next week's episode, I'm sure, but of course there'll be further reaction online at speedwaygb.co.uk. OK, that's the end of part one of our No Breaks, No Fear for this week. Part two, well, we're going to hear from Kelvin Tatum and Nigel Pearson. Kelvin's look at how the season's gone so far and who he tips for glory in 2021. And we're also turning our attention to the championship as well. Sam Masters, of course, not only number one with Wolves, but number one with Edinburgh Monarchs as well. So we'll find out about life in Scotland. And we'll also take a look at some of the other action coming up, including a key signing for the Leicester Lions, all on the way on No Breaks, No Fear.
No Breaks, No Fear, the official British Speedway podcast.
Welcome back. It's great to be along with you once again, and joining me in this episode to look at everything that's happening in British Speedway this week is Sam Masters, the number one for Wolves and Edinburgh, and we're turning our attention to the championship very soon because Edinburgh got a very busy weekend racing at home and away against Berwick this coming weekend. So that's in just a few moments. First of all, we're going to hear from Kelvin Tatum. You may be familiar with his work. Well, he's going to cast his eye over what's in store in the Premiership and how things are going so far, and who are Kelvin's tips to do well over the next week or so, or even beyond. But first, I don't know if you've heard about this, Sam, that Kelvin Tatum's got a book out. Have you been reading Kelvin's book?
Not yet, no. I keep seeing him pumping it out there, so I should have a little read of that, shouldn't I? Yeah. Maybe it might be a good thing to read on the plane.
All right, well, he's here to tell us more about his book. Here's Kelvin with Nigel Pearson.
So, Kelv, writing the book that we did together was quite an experience, wasn't it? And the reaction has been pretty positive. Tell us your thoughts on it all.
Well, yes, it was quite an experience. It was one of those things where it was quite cathartic in some ways because it made me think about what we'd been through as a family as well as a speedway and long track rider. And I was really chuffed to bits. We both were, to be perfectly honest, when we got to the end of it because it felt good and it's something I'd been wanting to do for some considerable time. So, yeah, pleased with the way it went and very pleased with the outcome.
And of course, you've had many duels with Danes down the years, England versus Denmark with the likes of Eric and Jano, and of course your old mate Hans Nielsen. Ironic that England have got Denmark in the Euros on Wednesday night.
Yes, I've still got the mental scars from those battles between us and Denmark. They seem to have the upper hand too often back in those days. But yes, it is. We're all excited about Wednesday, of course, at Wembley. And come on England, I think we've got a really good chance of making the final. But thanks for bringing that up about the Danish team because they were a bit special at the time.
It was a golden era for Danish Speedway, wasn't it? You know, they had the Gunderson-Nielsen rivalry, and then when you throw in people like Jano and Tommy, your Coventry teammate, it was a golden era for Danish Speedway.
Well, yes, they'd produced this succession of riders that were just outstanding, genuine world class, and you know, at least three of them won world championship, and of course then Nicky came along afterwards. So yeah, it was an incredible period of time for the Danes.
Now, many people who've read the book will, of course, have their own thoughts on this. But settling down now and looking back 6 months after you launched the book, after you brought it out, what would you say is your favourite chapter or your highlight of the book, your favourite part? Is it about Oliver, your son, or is it about your long track career? Because when I wrote that, I didn't know some of the things you were telling me about the long track career.
Not easy because, you know, I look upon all of it with a sense of pride, most of it, you know. there were ups and downs. There's no question that actually talking about Oliver was quite emotional, and also the piece that Debbie, my wife, did as well. I think that was really quite touching. Regarding the racing and the professional side of it, we talked about Speedway World Finals. They weren't particularly enjoyable for me. The success I enjoyed as a World Long Track rider, European Grass Track Championship, World Championships, British Championships, inevitably I look upon that very favourably, and there were some fantastic moments in that.
Is there more in the tank? What can you tell us? You and I know the answer to this, but is there enough in the tank to do more?
There is, because you and I know that there was a lot of stuff that we left and we didn't go into, and we did get reaction immediately after book sales with people saying, loving it, there's got to be more, in-depth stories.
Watch this space.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to it. But you've got to get rid of these copies now that are gathering on the shelves.
There's one or two kicking about.
Full of dust, because you haven't been able to get out to tracks and do book signings. But that might be about to change, Kelv.
Yes, it's been frustrating because the pandemic has curtailed that. We sold plenty, don't get me wrong, we've done very well, but there are a few left, and we are intending to go on book signings at tracks. And now our freedoms are returning. Keep an eye out, because Nigel and I are both going to be out and about, attending meetings, signing books and chatting to people.
Yeah, looking forward to that, Kelv. Eurosport this year, of course, a new broadcaster for British Speedway. We're five meetings in, 6 meetings in now. And the Premiership is back, and I don't know about you, but that's the most important thing for me. This time last year, no Speedway whatsoever. Now we're going racing again. That's been vital, hasn't it?
Yes, it is. I've got thoughts on the sport. You well know them, and I don't want to go into them right now. You're absolutely spot on. We needed to get racing again. We could ill afford to lose another season. So we're racing. Teams have done remarkably well. All clubs have done remarkably well to run with curtailed numbers. All credit to them. Riders are enjoying it. I feel it feels good to be back in the pit, smelling the methanol and hearing the bikes running. So, I think as things ease, I can only see it improving.
And it's been great to be back on TV as well. We've got the Grand Prix just around the corner too.
Yeah.
But I don't know about you, but I certainly missed a year of the domestic coverage last year. It was really frustrating. So really good to be back touring the tracks of the UK.
Yes, it's been part of our lives. You were stood on there as a lad, on the terraces. I started back in the 80s. I can't remember a year in the last 30 that I haven't gone to a domestic Speedway meeting. So yes, I think for an awful lot of people it was a shock to the system that we couldn't go. So I think that's why people are delighted to be back on watching Speedway.
Looking at the teams right now, Bellevue look really strong. Dad's Army, Peterborough, they've surprised a few. They've been brilliant. Has that surprised you with Peterborough? And do you see Peterborough, maybe Wolverhampton, who won at Ipswich last week? Do we see those types of teams in the playoffs now?
I think those three are nailed on. I think there's one spot up for grabs. I think Sheffield ordinarily should do that. I think they'll be a bit frustrated they haven't performed as well as they would have liked, Sheffield. Ipswich and Kings Lynn have had a poor start. You can't describe it any way different, but they need to up their game if they're going to have any impact on the top 4. But I think there's one space available. I expect it to be Sheffield, but who knows?
Absolutely. So we're back on Eurosport next Monday as well, and it's back to Manchester. Bellevue, of course, next Monday night against Wolverhampton. So that should be an absolute belter, shouldn't it?
Indeed. Wolverhampton are a good-looking team. They had a blip when we saw them at Peterborough, when they went down to 5 men, and I just think that they only had 2 guys going. It was Douglas and Becker. But if they ride as well as they did against Ipswich the other week, I think that could be quite a tussle. But Bellevue looked really strong, and they got strength in depth. So anybody going there, I think they're going to need one or 2 riders just to slightly be off colour. Always good to be back at the National Speedway Stadium. Yeah, it's a crown jewel for us now, isn't it? It's the best track in the UK. New stadium, good facilities, exciting racing. So yes, always look forward. Although it's rather a long way for me.
Yes, down in deepest Sussex, but you will live in a posh part of the world, won't you?
I live south of the border, which is Watford Gap, of course. No, it's generally well worth the effort to get there.
So next Monday night, Eurosport Bellevue versus Wolverhampton. Join us for that, folks.
So a little look ahead to your next TV meeting on Eurosport. That's the big Monday night match, Bellevue versus Wolves. And somebody who's going to be involved in that fixture will be Sam Masters, the Wolves number one, but also the number one at Edinburgh as well. The Edinburgh Monarchs in action this weekend. And Sam mentioning he's got a very busy time ahead because he's ridden on Monday night. He's riding on Thursday for Ipswich as a guest, and then riding for Edinburgh at Edinburgh, and then at Berwick with a return leg a day after. So a busy time for you there at Edinburgh.
Yeah, it's going to be a big weekend for us. We hopefully get over Berwick at home. That'll be a good start, and then go to Berwick on a bit of a roll and hopefully do them over again. So that's going to be tough, but like you said, it's two completely different tracks to Edinburgh, so it's hard to go from Edinburgh to Berwick and be fast after riding or after our home track being at Edinburgh. So yeah, it's going to be tough, but hopefully we can get some points out of them two, or that away fixture for sure. And they obviously got a pretty good team around Berwick as being a pretty special track, and we'll see how it goes. I think we can get a point anyway.
One of Edinburgh's strengths, I think, is the fact that they're always really hard to beat at home, isn't it? It's one of those places where I think a lot of teams dread going. You see a lot of surprise results, perhaps, in terms of teams that are otherwise going great and then get beat quite heavily at Edinburgh. And that track, if you've got the knowledge of how to ride it, that's the perfect thing for the Edinburgh team, isn't it? That it's a real trump card up your sleeve.
Yeah, it is. I remember going there as an away rider and remember how tough it was. And I think when my time at Somerset finished up, I wanted to ride at a track like that because I wanted to have that home track advantage like that. And yeah, a lot of teams are beat before they even go there for some reason. It's always a well-prepared track. But I can understand how technical it is, and it is hard for some riders to go there. So it's good for me to know, and it's good for me to have that home track advantage. So yeah, we've definitely give some good teams a good flogging around there, and yeah, hopefully that continues. So, but no, it's a really really technical track, and it catches a lot of riders out, and you got to set your bike up pretty special there too, being the way it is. So, but don't worry, we've definitely lost meetings there too, so we've got to always be on our game.
And for the benefit of fans, without giving away your secret formula or whatever, what sort of changes do you make to the bike? Is that kind of in terms of things, the size of gear you use, or there are other changes you make, or things like that?
Yeah, I think it's more like everyone sort of knows what sprocket, jet, ignition, whatever they run. But I think it's more we know how the track's sort of going and what we should change throughout the night, and when we should change it. And I think that gives Edinburgh we're always that sort of one step ahead of the other team in that way. But like I said, we've been beaten there plenty of times too. So we're not unbeatable, and sometimes it ain't our night and we don't win. But it is a pretty specific track, and I enjoy racing there.
Coming over from Australia and being in Edinburgh, it's a very different experience culturally. A very friendly place to be, but I know that one or two Aussies tend to find, even in the northeast of England as well, but also in Scotland, they can maybe struggle a little bit to understand the lingo, shall we say. How is it for you?
Yeah, it was. I remember when I first went there, I couldn't really understand anyone, but it's such an awesome club. It's like a family club. It's different to everywhere else, really. And I mean, I drive 300 mile up and for 300 mile back every week, and I do that for a reason, because I enjoy racing there, enjoy the track, but also enjoy the vibe in the whole club, So it's a well-run club. and I've always noticed that as an away rider. And yeah, I enjoy every minute there, and always have. And I know my girlfriend Tegan loves going up to Edinburgh, and we've got a lot of friends up there too. So, yeah, a lot of people hate going up there, but I love doing it every week, and hopefully that fun continues.
And have you ever had time to do any of the tourist thing, either in Edinburgh or anywhere else in the UK? You know, sort of just taking a bit of time in these cities that you've been racing in.
Yeah, we've been into London for a few days here and there, and obviously up in Edinburgh and Scotland, and we lived in Scotland actually for a couple of years. So we've seen a lot of stuff around the country, and it is a nice area up there. And yeah, spent a lot of time in Edinburgh and like in the city. And well, I mean, I haven't done all the tourist things probably around the whole country, but we've done a fair bit of it.
That's good stuff. It's good when you get the time, because I know that some riders feel like that they're, here, there and everywhere and in and out of places. And I suppose that's the case if you're jetting in and out of Poland, like perhaps was more the case a year or two ago. And you sort of live in your van and in the pits and back out again,
Plenty of airport floor sleeps.
Yeah.
But no, if you can do the 2 leagues in England, that's really good to be able to do that. And then because I don't race in Sweden like I did before, I think it'd be too much, especially with like the restrictions and stuff. But 2 leagues in England and Poland's, I think, perfect for me really. Now that I got Lenny. He's nearly 2 now, but we didn't really race last year, so this is pretty much the first full season with a baby, and doing the 2 leagues in England suits me perfectly.
Yeah, and how's it been managing that then? Because sort of it's a full-on job being a parent, and of course late nights, sometimes not much sleep, and that combined with Speedway, it's I suppose those early starts and airport sleeps have maybe set you up in good stead in advance.
Yeah, I'm used to not a good sleep, so even before he was born. But yeah, it's another thing to worry about for me, having a young family over on the other side of the world. It's hard on Tegan at times too, because she doesn't really have that family help. I mean, we live with some awesome people, Harry and Jules. They help out a bit, but still we don't have like our parents to help all the time when needed. So it's a little bit tough, probably more for Tegan than me. I sort of get away when I'm racing. I'm away from the late nights, the feeds, and trying to get him to sleep and whatever. But it's cool. I love it. I wouldn't change anything. I love having him. And after, if you have a bad meeting and you come home to Lenny and nothing really matters. So, yeah, life's definitely changed for sure, but for the better, I think.
Yeah, and has it changed you as a person, your outlook and the way that you look at them? I mean, you mentioned there that maybe things don't matter so much at the Speedway track, maybe quite as much as they did afterwards. You maybe don't obsess over stuff quite so much.
Yeah, I think maybe when I'm at the track, my attitude's still the same, but maybe deep down it isn't. And I have had a few people comment saying, "Oh, you seem like a little bit different this year to normal," and I haven't really done any mental training or anything like that to change that. I think, maybe just because could be a number of things, maybe because I have had the year out and realised that I shouldn't take it for granted, but as well, having a small family and other things to worry about too is probably chills me out as well. So, maybe I'm a little bit different, but not intentionally.
Looking at the other stuff then that's coming up this weekend, in the Championship. Well, first of all, let's mention Leicester. Leicester have just signed Hans Andersen to replace Ty Proctor, who announced that he was going to be stepping down from regular racing, at least for the time being. And to accommodate that change, they've also released Josh Bates as well. Now, Josh Bates' replacement hasn't been announced yet, but to pull Hans Andersen off as a signing for Leicester in the Championship, that's quite a big one, isn't it?
Wow, yeah, that makes Leicester really strong. They're already strong now. They're even stronger, so they're going to be probably the team to beat this year. and with Nick and Dougie, Howarth and Hands are all actually good top league riders. So yeah, it's going to be tough when we go to Leicester or race Leicester again, and that's a big change for them. So hopefully we can try and beat them when we come up against them.
Yeah, and the other championship fixtures that we've got coming up this weekend, Redcar are taking on Birmingham on Friday. They were supposed to be facing each other in that knockout cup clash that's been rearranged from a while back, but that's cancelled on Wednesday because of the football, because the whole nation's grinding to a halt for that. So but they are facing each other then in the league on Friday. And for Birmingham's riders, of course, they put their season on ice for a few weeks, and this will be their first meeting in a month, I think, when they head to Redcar on Friday.
Yeah, well, it's good to see that they've come back and they haven't actually pulled out. I think there was a bit of a scare there that they may not even come back at all. But so that's good that they're back and ready to finish the year off, and especially with restrictions lifting later, that's got to help them as well. So, good to see. Just good to see all the clubs just still trying to battle away, keep their head above water, and finish the season. So, and that is a big thing for us riders, because we need the clubs in the country to have races, and so I'm just hopeful that we can all get through the year. We win some trophies, bonus. If not, at least we've got through it, and next year will be, I think, better and a lot more normal than it has been.
Let's hear from the Birmingham team manager, Laurence Rogers, on that decision to postpone the Wednesday meeting. Of course, it would clash with the England match. Here he is speaking with Ryan Guest.
Who knew that on the 7th of July that this would be happening? We didn't know, did we? The aim was to get back for early July, which now we've got a delay.
Yeah, obviously got to delay. People must understand the reasons. It's almost impossible to compete financially against such a big national event.
Oh, totally. We hadn't sold hardly any tickets, that's all. I won't give you the exact number, but there wasn't many. Peter and David went away from the last meeting losing a lot of money. They were lost even more if we tried to run this week. So financially, it's the sensible thing. Plus, if you look at the weather forecast, it probably would have never happened anyway, because there's so much rain coming Tuesday and Wednesday.
The problems from that opening night against Redcar initially have been well documented now, but the club have really been working hard behind the scenes to put everything right.
Oh, very much so, yeah. We've got Dixie Dean now doing the track, and he was there last Sunday. He's coming back this Sunday to do some more. So the equipment now is getting to the stage where we've still got a few niggles with the tractors, which we're going to sort out. We've got the new Bowser ready to go into action. So fingers crossed, it's all steam ahead.
Yeah, the next fixture at Perry Bar is going to be on Wednesday, July the 14th. Scunthorpe, the visitors, obviously they've had a really strong start to the championship campaign. Now include former Brummie Radam Ellis, Simon Lambert as well, and also Tero Arnio, as well as Jordan Palin down at reserve. So a mouth-watering fixture in prospect, that one.
Oh, very much so. You look at that lineup, and watch their results for the last couple of meetings they've been flying. And Adam and Tero no doubt will be out to put one over us.
In the meantime, might not be at Perry Bar, but the Brummie's back on track this Friday at Redcar. Obviously, lots been going on between those two clubs over the past month or so. Nevertheless, must take some encouragement from the late fight back in the knockout cup tie there.
Oh yeah, very much so. We lost by 2 points overall after conceding 3 5-1s and a 4-2 in the first 4 heats. We bounced back. The aim is to go there and win on Friday.
That's Laurence Rogers speaking with Ryan Guest. Birmingham make their first appearance for a month at Redcar on Friday. So, as we were mentioning, great to see the Birmingham Brummies back in action once again. Another fixture taking place on Friday, Scunthorpe hosting Kent. Scunthorpe seemed to be a little bit of a surprise package, really. Nobody was really bigging them up at the start of the season, but they're certainly putting the points away, as Edinburgh found. Edinburgh beaten for the first time by Scunthorpe just a few days ago. What was your experience of your trip to Scunthorpe, Sam?
Yeah, I just think that home team suit that track. It's probably my least favourite track, Scunthorpe, as shown by my score the other day. So they are tough to come up against, especially at Scunthorpe. It's a very unique sort of place to go, and them boys kind of look like they've got it dialed in. So yeah, hopefully they don't make the playoffs because I don't want to have to go there again.
No.
So yeah, hopefully Kent can win. And but they haven't really done many fixtures, have they, Kent? So once they get on a bit of a roll too, they should be going good. So I'll be going for Kent for that one.
And then Scunthorpe are away at Leicester, as we mentioned. Leicester are the team to beat, and we've really talked about them already, I suppose. But again, a strong lineup, and with those changes, of course, Josh Bates is leaving that team with a place yet to be filled that we don't know who that will be just yet. But with Hans Andersen in their lineup, again, they've got Dan and Joe Thompson at reserve, who have both been performing really well. As he's mentioned, Carl Howarth, Nick Morris, Ryan Douglas. It's they're the reigning champions from 2019, albeit, but certainly going to be a tough one.
It's going to be tough for Scunthorpe for sure. And then the two young kids, the twins, Dan and Joe Thompson, they're obviously doing awesome too. So, yep, I think they're the team to beat for sure, Leicester. So we'll see how they go against Scunthorpe, and they're going to be a very tough team, especially at home.
That's Sam Masters, the Edinburgh and Wolves #1 here on No Breaks, No Fear. Joining me to look through the action. Still to come, we're going to hear from Tom Brennan. It's been a busy week for Eastbourne and for Tom Brennan because he's had a couple of guest appearances thrown in there for good measure as well. And we're going to hear from James Wright, who's lining up for Newcastle on their trip to Glasgow. He's had a decent week with Newcastle. He got a big score last weekend. We'll hear from him in the next part of No Breaks, No Fear.
No Breaks, No Fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Welcome back. I'm Ian Brannan, and joining me in this episode is Sam Masters from Wolves and Edinburgh. Right now we're going to talk about the Newcastle Diamonds, though. They had a tremendous fixture at the weekend just gone. They took on the Scunthorpe Scorpions, who we were talking about previously, has been a really strong side. And, of course, they beat Edinburgh, the remaining unbeaten side, earlier in that weekend. And then Newcastle took them on at Brough Park and won 52-38, and the top scorer in that fixture was James Wright, who scored 14 points plus 3 bonus at reserve, and Ryan Guest caught up with him while he was racing for Sheffield against Wolves at that meeting on Monday, talking about Newcastle's season so far.
Well, James Wright, from the team's point of view, first and foremost, obviously a bit of a frustrating one at Berwick on Saturday, but a great turnaround on Sunday to make it back-to-back home wins.
Yeah, I think we all, give it our best at Berwick. Track conditions probably played into our hands more with obviously it raining and being a bit wet, so we took full advantage of that. It's just a shame we fell short, but I think we're going to find it a lot harder away from home at the moment. But I think the main thing is, as long as we're winning the home meetings, and if we can manage to remain unbeaten all year, I think we could be up there. It's just obviously points away from home is going to be hard, but hopefully we can all click at the same time. And I think we have surprised a lot of teams this year, especially like Scunthorpe, because I thought they were a really good team to come to Newcastle, and we showed great grit and determination to win the match.
Certainly one bonus for the Diamonds is the return of Ben Barker. Someone of his experience and quality in the second division can certainly only help the team.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've had some really good guests, come in and help us. But I think, most importantly is having the same team, the same 7 riders every week, because you get to understand, each other. But when you kind of try and do like rider replacement and, having different guests in all the time, it doesn't necessarily help too much. But I'm enjoying, the rider replacement in the minute, because I'm getting plenty of rides and I'm just trying to make the most of it while I'm at reserve.
Going to say plenty of rides down at reserve, plenty of points over the weekend as well, which you must have been delighted with.
Yeah, I'm over the moon with it, really. I don't really tend to just sit there and think I've done that. I just focus on the next meeting. I've come here to Wolves, I've got 2 points, but I felt like I rode really well tonight. But looking at the score, it doesn't look that well, but I feel like I'm getting better every week and every meeting I'm doing. So hopefully it'll just click, towards the end of the year, and I can improve even more than I am now.
Yeah, just finally, I was going to say we're about 6 weeks or so into your Speedway comeback now. How would you sum it up so far?
Yeah, it's definitely going better than I expected. it helps being at reserve. I just kind of wish I can get my form going for Sheffield now. I feel like I'm getting more and more on the pace. I think, it's down to starts in the Elite League, and obviously I got really tough rides. I have my reserve ride where I seem to always win or get a second, and after that it's really tough for me then, because up against like the main body of the team, and I go out there and give it 100% every race, but hopefully it'll just click. Towards the end of the season I can score more points.
All the best for the rest of the year, James.
Thank you, mate.
James Wright of the Newcastle Diamonds had a very good week last weekend at Brough Park when Newcastle beat the Scunthorpe Scorpions. Newcastle on the road on Friday, heading to the Glasgow Tigers, a tricky clash at the Ashfield Stadium. Another team who've had a decent week are the Eastbourne Eagles, who were on the road to Redcar on Friday night. At one point, they were 12 points ahead in the early stages of that match. It ended 43-47, so the Eagles getting that away win. Very soon, we're going to hear from Tom Brennan, who's had a cracking week because he's not just been riding, of course, with Eastbourne and Bellevue, but he's had a couple of guest bookings as well. First, though, I caught up with the co-promoter at the Eastbourne Eagles, Lee Kilby, after that victory at Redcar.
We've been so unlucky in our meeting so far. With the little change in the rider order, with Richard going to 1, Eddie dropping down to 3, we all said that could really tick the box for us, and it absolutely did. And again, it's a simple thing to say in Speedway, but if you make the starts, especially with the weather's like that, we just said to the boys, if you can make that start, get out front, you're going to get fresh air for a few heats. That's exactly what the boys did. We couldn't have asked for any more early on, really.
And the track was very, very heavy, of course, because we had a big downpour before the meeting, and fairly heavy going through parts of the meeting.
Yeah, and we did say, a lot of the track staff here said, look, when the track is like this, after you've had a handful of heats, it gets a nice line on the outside, and then that's how it proved. And once that track started to change, it changed in their favour a little bit, and they started to come back into it. And they got great riders. That race from Anders Rowe was out of this world, when he came round Louis. So we knew we'd have to keep going right till the end. And we had a little bit of bad luck in Heat 15. We wanted to try and go away with all 4 points. We thought Carl was a little bit hard done by because there was a similar incident when all 4 were back early on. But we'd have taken 3 points at the start of the day, so we're very happy.
So that's Lee Kilby speaking after the first part of Eastbourne's weekender, the trip to Redcar, and then they were hosting the Glasgow Tigers at home on the Sunday, and it came down to the very last heat, and a 5-1 really required to guarantee the points. And Tom Brennan and Richard Lawson fought off Craig Cook and Ulrich Ostergaard for much of that Heat 15. Let's hear from Tom Brennan right now. He's been speaking with Ryan Guest about the Eastbourne weekend, starting with that trip to Redcar.
Huge, massive weekend for them. For us, it's great to go away from home and get a win. That's always a challenge in Speedway, and always a challenge in any sport. To try and win away from home. And for us, it was great to hit them early on, and I think that's what did it. That's what did it. And to take it home on the Sunday for an afternoon meeting, especially just after the rain come, was pretty difficult. Trying to get set up and trying to cast away all those thoughts of maybe it's off or we're going racing. And it was great. Great to have a good meeting for Eastbourne too. Trying to get him back in those double figures. So.
Yeah, you mentioned the away victory at Redcar. Obviously, once you've gained those points on the road, it's vital that you back them up at home. And at the interval stage on Sunday against Glasgow, it was looking like it could go the other way. But 3 late 5-1s for the Eagles saw them snatch another last heat decider.
Yeah, it was a bit of a kick up the backside after the interval. I think we were 4 down. Well, we were actually 4 down, but Trevor, our team manager, actually pulled us in a big circle and said, "Oh, we're actually 8 down," and we were like, "Oh, 8 down? No way! What's going on?" Turns out we're actually 4 down. He did fill in the last race, so no, it was great. We managed to keep our heads down and kept focus, because I think we needed that kick to keep going, and all of us wanted it so bad, and you could just see it in Richie, Louis' eyes. They obviously wanted it, and. For us, it was great to win away from home, but even better to win at home. Just sort of see all those people happy and just sort of have the atmosphere again. In Eastbourne Speedway. So for me, it was great. For the team, it was great, and hopefully we can carry that form on.
I was going to say you were involved in that big Heat 15 last heat decider as well, and by the sounds of it, you and Richard had a good plan that came to fruition on the track as well.
Yeah, as you say, we actually had a bit of a team talk before, just me and Richard, and that was great because we actually had a plan in our head, and obviously when a plan goes ahead, that's always great, when it all works out. So, it was a great feeling, but there was also no pressure in that race. I think everybody expected Glasgow to come up and clean up, in all honesty, and we managed to turn it around. And going into 15, it was, we have this plan in our head, let's just go do it now. And there was no pressure, there was no feeling of we have to go win this, and I think we managed to keep our head straight, and we come away with a win, so you can't ask much more.
Yeah, historically Eastbourne have had so much dominance at Arlington, usually sail through most meetings, but the first 3 fixtures at Arlington this season have been a lot tighter. Any specific reason for that, do you think?
Unfortunately, the weather we've been given, we had a real hot meeting, an afternoon meeting, we then had a real cold meeting, and the track unfortunately has been pretty different every meeting. That isn't any excuse, because teams can come and obviously ride it no problem, but for a home track you always want to try and be as similar as you can. So for us it was just about getting settled in, and hopefully the track's now settled into how we like it, and I think you can see the results hopefully to come, and I think we're all set up for the year now. So
as Eastbourne star Tom Brennan there speaking with Ryan Guest in a great weekend for the Eastbourne Eagles. Now, Eastbourne are not in action this weekend. They were due to be having a double header this weekend on Sunday, but there's a potential big sporting fixture happening. Well, there is a big sporting fixture happening. Whether England are involved at the time of recording, we're not sure. Adjust accordingly depending when you listen to this. But anyway, they've moved the fixture because on Sunday it's the Euros final. It's also the final of Wimbledon as well, so they're not competing with that. So it was a double header. Eagles versus the Lions and the Seagulls versus the Cubs was due to be this Sunday. It's now rescheduled for next Sunday. That's the 18th of July. So the Eastbourne Eagles versus the Leicester Lions and the Eastbourne Seagulls versus the Leicester Lion Cubs. A double-header meeting will be next Sunday, the 18th of July, once all the dust is settled from whatever happens through the world of football. Whatever the score with the England match, of course, it will be the final anyway, and people will be wanting to watch it, I'm sure. So they're not competing. Fair enough. So it'll be happening next weekend. One final story to mention, and that's the one of Nicky Pedersen, who's been hit with a 6-month ban from racing for an altercation that happened at a match in Denmark. It was a League Cup match, and went into the referee's box, gave the referee a piece of his mind, and things have escalated somewhat, and he's now banned for 6 months.
Yeah, you think he would have chilled out in his older age, Nicky, but he still gets pretty excited, obviously. I don't really know what he did. What did he try and get hold of the referee or something, did he?
Yeah, well, the story is that it was a Danish meeting. The Metal Speedway League Cup semi-final in Holsted, June 2nd, found guilty of unsportsmanlike conduct and threatening conduct, as well as forcing access to the referee's box without permission after he took exception to his exclusion from Heat 15, which was his second disqualification of the evening. Now, on the night, he was fined 500 Danish kroner on the night, but it's the Denmark Motor Union who've stepped in and hit him with a bigger penalty, because really I think they're just upholding him as an example that he's a role model for Danish Speedway now, and it's not the kind of thing that they want to see happening.
Yeah, I know. You can't do that. We all get angry and we all don't agree with some of the referees' decisions. I've got one referee here in the UK, I won't name him, that I feel he's against me every time he's the referee. And I feel like I'm up there and smashing the door in too, but you just can't do it. It just obviously gets you nowhere. He's definitely not going to change his mind. So, he's now in a lot of trouble and not going to be able to race for 6 months. So that's bad for him. I don't know. Yeah, like you said, he's an example of the sport. He's a rider a lot of kids look up to, so he shouldn't do that, really, I don't think. But anyway, just don't get Nicky angry by the looks of it.
And you've raced against him and with him as well, of course, in teams over your time. What's he like as a competitor and a teammate?
Yeah, he's sort of gone a bit far there, but he normally stirs the crowd up a bit. He's I've actually rode with him before in Sweden, and he's actually a really funny guy to sort of hang around in a meeting. So I think he enjoys his speedway a lot, but yeah, like you said, people miss him if he ain't there, because the GPs aren't really the same since he's been out. So he's probably gone a little bit far whenever he done that the other day in Denmark, and he's facing consequences for it. But like you said, we need someone like that in the sport. It keeps it exciting, keeps the drama in it, and more of it should be allowed, really, I reckon.
And the Grand Prix return next week, of course. What are your thoughts ahead of this year's series? It's going to be slightly different because we've lost a few rounds and there's going to be a few double headers over the course of the weekends in Poland and so on as well. How do you think the 2021 Grand Prix series panning out?
Yeah, it's well, you know, like Smarslik's won it the last 2 years and he's on fire at the minute. It's still again, so he's going to be 100% hard to beat. But I see Doyley. He's on Jason Doyle. He's flying too. So being another Aussie, I'd hope to see him do well, and he's due a podium at least. But yeah, I think it's between Doyley, Magic Janowski, Smarslik, and probably Wolfie. Wolfie is always there. So a couple of double headers and no British Grand Prix, which is a shame for the British fans, but. Yeah, that's the way the world is at the minute, and hopefully it's bigger and better when it does return to Cardiff.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks very much for joining us, Sam Masters, in this episode. All the best for the remainder of the season, and maybe we'll see you in those playoffs, avoiding Peterborough in the Premiership and Scunthorpe in the Championship would be your wish, yeah?
Yeah, that would be ideal. So hopefully 2 playoffs for me, and I'll be pumped with that and at least win one of them. That would be nice after having a year out. But yeah. Anyway, thanks for having me.
An absolute pleasure to speak with Sam Masters in this week's episode of No Breaks, No Fear. Don't forget, check out all the previous episodes. There's loads of great stuff in there. A couple of weeks ago, we chatted with Tom Brennan. We spoke to him a little bit in this episode, but the whole episode a few weeks ago was with Tom, and you'll find out much more about him as well and what it's like to be a young up-and-coming rider in British Speedway and some of the work that's going on to support the next generation. It's real insight into what goes on behind the scenes, even in the closed season when we've all forgotten about Speedway in the depths of winter. There's still lots going on. And keep up to date with what's happening with your club online at speedwaygb.co.uk. There's plenty of stuff on there. All the results and fixtures are up to date and news from every team of all 3 British leagues. And we'll be back with you next week. Next Tuesday, another brand new episode every Tuesday through the Speedway season of No Breaks, No Fear. My great pleasure to be with you. We're back next week. This podcast is a Nigel Pearson Media Limited production for British Speedway. Take care. See you next week.
No Breaks, No Fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Sports Social Podcast Network.